And that's how the movie projector tricks us into believing that motionless pictures are moving. A motion picture.
The Oscars love rewarding movies about making movies. I don't know if that thought was going through Steven Spielberg's mind when he decided to make a movie about his own life. A documentary in 2017, Spielberg, directed by Susan Lacey, looked at Spielberg's life and work, interviewing countless colleagues, actors, and Spielberg's family, including his parents and sisters. Spielberg's mother, Leah Adler, passed away in 2017 at the age of 97, a few months before the documentary premiered at the New York Film Festival. Spielberg's father, Arnold Spielberg, passed away in 2020 at the age of 103. So we will never know what Spielberg's parents would have thought about how they were portrayed in The Fablemans.
I learned very early on to go with him. And if Steve wanted something, he wanted it as badly as I want things. We have this great passion. Forget talking me out of anything, or Steven Spielberg. So I joined him. I became his ally. I was his best friend. Either that or I was going to break his legs.
Spielberg purposely waited 20 years until they had both passed to make this movie out of fear it would upset his parents to have their personal lives on the screen. The coming-of-age story changes the Spielberg family to the Fablemans, a pretty accurate name, I think, to the high spectacle that Spielberg's body of work is known for. The story revolves around Sammy Fabelman, somehow a less alliterative name than Steven Spielberg, starting in 1952 and ending around 1965. In the beginning of the film, Mitzi and Bert, Sammy's parents, played by Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, take a very young Sammy to see his first movie. Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth, a dazzling spectacle that ends with a huge train crash after a botched robbery, which is totally inappropriate for a young child to see. Sammy is horrified but also dazzled by the spectacle and asks for a model train for Hanukkah, which he keeps crashing. Until Mitzi offers that he can shoot the fake crash on a Super 8 camera, his first movie. Sammy lives with his parents, 3 sisters, and his father is frequently in the company of his business partner and best friend, Uncle Benny. Uncle Benny is portrayed by Seth Rogen, adding a dose of humor to Spielberg's traumatic childhood discovery. Like Spielberg's real father, Benny and Bert both work at RCA. Bert is a visionary electrical engineer. Bert's contribution to RCA is that he worked on the Bismack vacuum tube computer. In 1957, based on his work on the Bismack, Bert gets offered a job at General Electric in Phoenix, and Mitzi convinces him to bring Benny along. The real Arnold Spielberg would go on to design General Electric's GE200 series of computers, specifically the GE225. Uncle Benny and Mitzi are shown to be extremely close friends, and Bert is wrapped up in his work and absent-minded, as geniuses often are. Sammy's love of making movies continues to grow. In 1958, for a merit badge, he makes The Last Gunfight, and then Escape to Nowhere, a World War II movie. Bert and Sammy clash repeatedly over Sammy's film obsession. Bert doesn't understand that it's not just a hobby.
It's kind of like what I do, isn't it? What a movie director does. It is.
Sammy is much more like Mitzi, a stifled creative who put her piano playing on the back burner to raise a family. Mitzi's mother dies, which badly affects her mental health and brings her estranged uncle Boris, a lion tamer, to the house for a couple days.
Now, maybe she was a good person, my sister, but she was scared. Scared for your mother. She should have safety in the family.
Boris is played by Judd Hirsch, who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this performance.
I'm ready to go stick my stupid head in the mouth of lions.
The pivotal moment of the film occurs when Sammy, after being gifted a Mansfield 8mm editing machine by his father, catches Uncle Benny and Mitzi having an affair on the family camping trip. Sammy is traumatized and swears off filmmaking forever. Sensing something is wrong, and with the worst timing, Bert accepts a job at IBM and wants to move his family from Phoenix, a place they've come to love, to Saratoga, California, without Uncle Benny. With this as the backdrop, Sammy confronts his mom about the affair, and Uncle Benny tries to buy Sammy off with a new camera, which he accepts but swears not to use.
And IBM? That's where guys like Bert are figuring out how to use what he's made to... They're going to change the whole goddamn world.
In Northern California, they are all miserable. Mitzi's depression worsens each day, and she decides to get a pet monkey. Something Steven Spielberg's real mom actually did during this time.
And I remember the kids freaked out. They were so scared. Steve said, in a normal household, kids say, "Can we have a monkey?" And the mother says, "Are you crazy?" When I hear my stories about the things I've done, I think that was crazy.
Did you think she was crazy?
I like the monkey.
Throughout the movie, we see Sammy go to the movies multiple times, and one movie he sees is John Ford's The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Sammy goes to a new school, quickly realizing he's the only Jewish boy there, and getting bullied by anti-Semitic classmates.
He doesn't like Jews.
Nobody likes Jews.
Except other Jews.
But in the process, he also finds a new girlfriend, Monica, who's a very devout Christian and wants to convert him.
Ask him to come into you. Ask him to enter you.
Monica finally helps convince Sammy to try filming again after lending him her father's Airflex professional 16mm camera. He films the school's ditch day, using the film to humiliate one anti-Semitic bully and to gain favor with another.
I don't know why. You are the biggest jerk I've ever met in my entire life. I have a monkey at home that's smarter than you!
The fallout, which started from Mitzi's affair with Uncle Benny, finally comes to a head when Mitzi and Bert announce they're getting a divorce.
Don't you love Daddy?
Sure, of course I love Dad and I love Mom.
This sends Sammy spiraling out of control, catalyzing in a traumatic time period where he professes his love to a horrified Monica at prom.
Monica, I love you.
That's impossible. Sammy.
Sam.
Mitzi returns to Phoenix to reunite with Uncle Benny, while Bert stays in California and helps Sammy pay for college. Sammy hates college and wants to get employed in Hollywood, finally receiving one letter back. The letter is answered by the creator of Hogan's Heroes, who knows Sammy would rather be in film than television, but is impressed with his ambition. He asks if Sammy wants to meet the world's greatest director.
John Ford will arrive and talking to her, and about 40 minutes later, this old dude walks into the room wearing like a safari jacket and a patch over an eye, chewing on a handkerchief with a half, chewed up and very masticated and wet cigar in his hand. I saw all this stuff instantly, and he had kiss marks, but I mean, like not makeout marks, but the kind of perfect kiss marks.
Who turns out to be none other than John Ford, played by David Lynch. Amazingly, this actually happened to a 19-year-old Spielberg because why not?
And he said, "What do you know?" He said, "What do you know about art?" And I just was stammering. I wasn't expecting that question. He said, "You see those paintings around the office?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, get up and walk over to the first painting." He said, "Tell me what you see in that painting." And I said, "Well, I see two Indians on horses." He said, No. Where's the horizon?"
Oh, wow.
John Ford gives Sammy one piece of advice before sending him on his way to conquer Hollywood. Well, roughly a decade later anyway.
When the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, let me say, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live show, send us a super chat. We are absolutely obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer it. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are available on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Jay Underworld, illustrator, book cover artist, comic designer, and artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and Bad Takes. Conan Neutron, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, host of Botanic Reversal, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Kristina Oakes, when she's not dog-sitting, you can find her streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at @cosmopolitics. Throw her some subs on Twitch. I, of course, am your Academy Award nominated host in a supporting role, Forrest Miller. Let's bring out those nominees.
Indeed. Yeah, I think it's.
I gotta say, I like how it's like the horizon line's in the middle and shit, and we come straight to the horizon line in the middle.
Right. No, it's a great way to end.
But then it goes up, and then the horizon line is no longer in the middle, and you're supposed to think,
our video.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you don't change the horizon line.
Yeah, I you know what? I make boring videos. They're intro videos. I don't worry too much.
David Lynch as John Ford would be very disappointed.
And apparently the real John Ford, because apparently he took those lines from his real life, which is
He told that story apparently to anyone that would listen for years, and there's many iterations of it. And but that said, this is a great cinematic depiction because David Lynch is the perfect person to play John Ford, who. Yes. A legendary dude, but kind of like a bit of a caustic character, a talented filmmaker, and David Lynch just has that generally kind of off-putting otherworldly energy anyway. So it's always good to see him acting, and he's in it for 3 minutes. It's amazing.
Yeah, best 3 minutes. I got more out of his scene than I did in all the years in art school.
At least he got some actionable information out of it. Yeah,
whoa, the horizon. I shouldn't have been putting the horizon line in the middle the entire time. That's all I do.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's my go-to move.
I took in the brief time that I was in junior college, I took one film class, and the best thing I got out of it is I watched El Mariachi, and I thought that was amazing. But I didn't really learn anything too actionable that I didn't really already know. So, gotta tell you. This is a film about films. Hollywood loves films about films. You said in the intro, and it's 100% true.
Yeah, I kind of cribbed that from you, I think.
They love a movie about a Hollywood legend.
Well, and Spielberg is someone that he is indeed a Hollywood legend. I mean, think of how many amazing movies Spielberg has made.
And we don't think about the ones that aren't so good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think of Jaws, Close Encounters, E.T., just timeless freaking movies. Raiders, of course.
If he didn't get Jaws, I'd like to think about where he'd be, because he was he was on the edge of quitting making movies.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
All of us, I'm on the edge of quitting this show every week.
Yeah, he's mad that he lost his job at Radio Shack when they closed down.
My backup plan.
And we did an episode of Nope. We all have talked about how terrible it was that it was snubbed, but it is. I heard someone describe it as, oh yeah, it's like Jaws plus Close Encounters. I'm like, ooh, yeah, that kind of gets you there. That gets you to where you need to be to understand what it is you're seeing. I kind of, but in a good way. It is deeply original its way, but it's also
Close Encounters of the shark kind.
Right. It's an homage to that style of
the Nope encounters of a. Never mind.
But in a way that we don't think of blockbusters are different now, right? Big movies, go to the movies are different now. That can be interpreted a number of ways, but the way I choose to interpret it is the king of the blockbuster have to go see it in a theater movie. Spielberg, he wore that crown for a long time. Unfortunately, he did some other films that maybe were not so great. So coming back around, and we talked about this in the Oscar episode, I think he's got a real good chance to at least win Best Director. I don't think Fablemans wins for Best Picture, but I think it's a two or three way race for Best Picture. I say it's either going to be Spielberg, Todd Fields, or Daniels.
Well, and I feel like without Spielberg, you don't get like even like the Marvel movies, right? Like that.
Of course not.
Yeah, like the high concept, which I don't know if Marvel is necessarily considered high concept because it's based an adaptation of comic books, but like the high concept, go to the theater, blockbuster, like summer blockbusters didn't really exist until Jaws. In that, like,
and you don't get bisexual lighting without Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So there you go.
Close Encounters of the Bisexual Kind.
There we go. God, oh my god!
I think I've seen that film too.
If we were doing an after party, that would have been the title.
Yeah, that's hard to beat, so to speak. Yeah, like it's Hollywood loves movies. It loves movies that are autobiographies. And like you can argue the vast majority of Spielberg's movies are somewhat, based on the trauma from this film, depicted in this film. Which I hate to be the guy, but I'm like, really, that's the trauma, huh? Okay.
I feel like some of it is that he's had like kind of a boring guy. Like he's not one of those classic characters that like Hollywood directors that. I mean, David Lynch is a perfect example. Larger than life director directing movies that are larger than life. Spielberg is kind of a guy directing movies that are definitely larger than life, but he's just kind of like a guy doing it. Like he's like,
which is fine.
He's relatable too. Like that's the thing. It's like anybody can go see his movies. Like David Lynch, not for everybody.
Well, and that's the key to Spielberg's success too. Is he makes these gigantic, movies that are full of imaginative ideas that are
very
simplistic
too.
They're emulated, but they're very easy to understand in the way that like you can sum up Banshees of Inisherin very quickly. In the way that's like, oh yeah, these guys live in an island. One doesn't want to be friends with the other.
Everything
it's funny,
and
then it's sad. Yeah, it's just like it's nuts.
Difficult.
It's the most batshit thing you've ever seen, and I mean that as a compliment.
Like
they once had a three-way. Now he chopped off his hand. That's
like I have like people in my Twitch community who are like, I don't understand a lot of these movies today.
Bisexual of Inisherin, right?
Like, oh wow. But like, I'm like, I like to be challenged. I like critical thinking, but I still like simple movies and biopics and whatnot. But like, I like
That sounds like an operation. A bio.
Yeah, I was gonna say
biopic. I had a biopic. It was terrible. It took me 3 days to recover.
I'm gonna make a movie about it. Some kind of biopic.
Some open heart biopics.
All right, sorry, Kristina.
Yeah, please continue.
Yo, speaking of which,
I would like to welcome our new sponsor. No, that's not true.
What up? Yeah, cheers.
We guess we should be at this point.
Yeah.
Andy, I missed the memo, apparently.
I guess I'm going to have to be reaching out to Bang now.
Movie Bang Extravaganza. You can get into the title?
I start every stream with a bang.
You mute the group chat for one day. But so what was your actual point there, Kristina?
Oh, but I'm just saying, like, there are people out there who are like, I don't like the David Lynches and the Noah Hawleys and like all these people who do like confusing stuff. I'm like, it's entertaining.
Yeah. Well,
but there's still stuff out there for normies who can't handle a little critical.
The world's made for them. The world is completely made for them. And like, again, what's considered challenging for some folks is just entertainment for others. Like, I mean, it's.
Well, and we talked about this during our, when we had a bunch of, last month with our Adventure Month, right? Like the different, like the battle between the blockbuster and like this kind of high concept movie and, the more artsy stuff, which makes it kind of funny that Scorsese, our good friend, interviewed,
friend of the show, Marty, we call him.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of these, but he interviewed Spielberg for this movie.
Yeah.
And
I think it's gonna go a little something like this.
Better than Taylor Swift.
But he's kind of another guy that I think is far more boring than his movies are. You know what I mean? Like
as a dude, he's pretty kind of like a
And I'm sure this interview is pretty boring compared to the one where the guy from Drive was like comparing himself to
Well, I mean, they're friends. They have a nice, easy chemistry. Whereas in that,
Friedkin like ate NWR alive on that, and NWR did himself no favors, which is what it is. But yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. And I mean, but the beauty of the picture for me, I love the scene between Mitzi and Sandy, and this special bond between the two of them, particularly how the picture takes off at times, starting with the scene in which she dances in the light, the headlights, and there's a great shot of the camera flying. He says, General Electric, the camera flies right into the headlights, and the lights go on, and she comes on. She allows whatever she had, a bottle that she was drinking, but whatever it is, she allows the muse just to take over, and she kind of lets go. And I always felt that, watching the picture a couple of times, I always felt that the special language is art between Mitzi and Sandy. There's no doubt. And maybe that's what this bond is. That's why it's so strong.
They share a lot in common. I shared so much in common with my mom, but even more so in the way when you tell a story, everything has to become, condensed in order for timelines have to be altered in order to get the whole story out. Yeah. And in real life, some of these events were separated by months, a couple by years, and in the movie it doesn't seem that way. It seems like it's coming fast and furious. But my mom understood. She identified with me. I identified with her because I wanted to be a movie director even as a kid with 8mm. And my mom wanted to be a concert pianist. And my mom knew that wasn't going to happen. She was also madly in love with my dad's best friend and business partner. And she didn't know if that would ever happen. So she had a she sort of vicariously lived through my dream fulfillment, wanting to be a director, when she knew she probably would never be able to be with my father's best friend and her best friend, and she knew she would never be able to perform professionally as a concert pianist. So she kind of really pushed me in that sense. She was sort of living through me. And I was living through her too, because she sucked all the air out of the room. She had I don't know if you ever been to a restaurant when she was alive in LA, the Milky Way, but she had such an awesome personality. And then, when we were in the room, we just listened to her. She was just extraordinary, presence, force of nature.
But I think what I was thinking about when I said, well, for God's sakes, you fulfilled her art.
Well, yeah.
You fulfilled her yearnings to.
There you go.
Yeah, I cut it short because the audio isn't. It's somebody's phone. So at certain times within that interview, it's a good interview, but at certain times you can hear the person go "ha," and they're like "ha" is like way louder than the actual audio.
There you go. Well, we get the idea. I mean, it's I think Scorsese and Spielberg absolutely have to be in the conversation together, as well as Coppola.
Why not have Taylor Swift? She's a director now, right?
That was actually credit or credit too. That was pretty good. Like the Taylor Swift, which it just was weird, but
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, she clearly look. There's a certain type of one of the reasons I got into Platonic Controversial was because when my band would be interviewed, it was the same like 4 questions, and they always were terrible and it wasn't interesting. It's like
what
you were not
inspired you to be a musician.
Yeah. Like, where did you get your band name? Oh God, and it's just like it was so tiring that I was like, well, I could probably do this better just based on what I don't want to hear. And I feel like that was Taylor Swift's whole deal with that was like, hey,
it seems
I'm
like
gonna ask something deeper. I'm gonna get into.
It seems like things. She was legitimately fascinated by that movie.
Yeah.
He was legitimately fascinated by asking Taylor Swift, why did you suddenly decide to direct things rather than sing? Because they were both. I mean, they both seem to be actually like. I know in every single interview, people are like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of your work," and it's like, "Are you though?" Like, I don't know if you are, but in this, it seemed like they legitimately were.
They legitimately were. I mean, that's the reason why my show works. I only have people on who I actually am a fan of. But that's always the thing. Everybody says that. It's like, yeah, but you can tell when they aren't. Like those, like the late night shows, like you can tell when it's like, yeah, I don't care about you at all. And
except for Craig Ferguson, because he would be like, screw these no cards and questions. I just want to have a real conversation. Like, But everyone else,
he would
it's
make
like-
it entertaining. Like, and
Yeah.
Letterman's the same way. They would find a way to like, get at, but like, less like a hack like Jay Leno or something. Who just
I was gonna say a hack like James Corden.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like,
I'm a big fan of your work. I don't know who you are, but my note cards say I am. So
Oh
You
my
ever
God, the
seen
fake
Car-
enthusiasm. It's
You ever
like
seen,
Ellen DeGeneres.
You ever
Before
seen
you take
Car
over.
Accident?
Ruin my
Karaoke?
chances. Yeah. What's that, Forrest?
I said, you ever seen Car Accident Karaoke?
Feel like I watched every time I watch that show. That's what it was. But I digress. It's cool to see the guys like that in conversation because there really isn't a whole lot of contemporaries for people at Spielberg's level, right? That are, I guess, far as like people that not only make movies, not only make great movies, but very successful movies that literally everybody knows. Everyone knows those movies, right? And like that's crazy that his latter day career, starting from like what, Hugo or so. Like it's sort of like he just was like, no, I'm gonna make these kind of like weird personal movies, and then I'm also gonna do a Ready Player One, and that was whatever that was, and it just had to like not connect with people on the same level at all, but like still be like, yo, that's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Kristina, go ahead.
So like with Scorsese and Spielberg, they come from like that same class of like this specific era of like up and coming young directors that really started their careers into like the 70s and early 80s, and they became more established, throughout the 80s and 90s.
And in this high concept blockbuster versus
I didn't really care for Last Duel either, Sherry. That was not for me.
Like New Hollywood kind of battle, but like all of them are kind of just hanging out at the same time. So it's like these two types of films are kind of clashing, but it's like but like we're chilling, like we're all good friends. So this is in comparison to that, Seth Rogen was, I guess, really hyped to work with Steven Spielberg, and this is kind of fascinating because I mean he is a filmmaker too. Like you don't think about that.
Yeah, no. I mean he's a businessman. Like I mean he's made some good stuff. He's made some stuff that I'm not so much a fan of either. But I mean just because you don't like the art doesn't mean someone isn't an artist.
Yeah, so this is him talking about sneaking onto the set early, or like coming onto the set early just to watch Steven Spielberg work.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I kind of found this interesting. I don't think a lot of people would admit that, like, oh, like I went to the set, I wanted to see how he worked. Like,
right, exactly.
What is this I hear about you? So you snuck onto set 10 days early just to sort of take away the sort of mystique of working with Steven and the nerves. So tell me about showing up on set early. Did anybody sort of say, what are you doing here?
No, not at all. I didn't seek on. And I told him from the first, when I came up in a very like insulated filmmaking environment where I worked with a lot of the same people throughout a lot of my career, and we worked in what I've learned, it was a pretty specific way. So a lot of my questions to him when we first talked were like, how do you work? Like, how do you make a movie? Do you give a lot of direction, not a lot of direction? Do a lot of takes, not a lot of takes? I have a friend who worked with Clint Eastwood and they do one take, and it's like, oh, that's a whole other way of working, And so I wanted to see, I wanted to just demystify the process. And I was like, I think I'll perform better for you if I can be there a lot and just see how everything goes. So by the time I'm filming, it's not like I'm both nervous about my performance and struggling to comprehend kind of how you work. So, and as a film fan, it's just like, if you have an opportunity to be on a Steven Spielberg set, you take it, and you take it as much as you can, and you don't leave, and you sit as close to him as you can, and you watch him and you listen to him. And that was something I just wasn't going to pass up either. So it was like, and he was thrilled to have me there and always seemed happy that I was there. And so it was like, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
I know. I heard that you like brought War of the Worlds, and you were like, how did you shoot this? How did you shoot that? Please give me one little secret or one little tip about Steven Spielberg as a filmmaker that you learned that you would be willing to share.
He's always like drawing his own little storyboards on which is not something a lot of people do. Little scribbles all the time, and then when you look at them, they really is like the shots as we're doing it, and it looks like a child drew them for the most part, but they somehow translate into some iconic filmmaking.
Does it change the way, now that you've worked with him, does it change the way you go back and watch his films? When you watch his other films, where you sort of see it through a different lens?
I think one of the great things about this movie, honestly, is it will do that for everyone. I think like when you understand the person who made so many iconic works of art, it gives those works of art an entirely new meaning, and you understand why they did what they did in a new way and why they made the choices they made. And when it's someone as influential as him, what's interesting is you start to see like, oh, these things that affected him affected everyone, including you, the viewer, because we live in a culture that has been shaped by him and his sensibilities, and so it's really interesting to see, the kind of ripple effect of like, oh, if that hadn't happened to him, then like action movies wouldn't be as popular as they are today. It's like, yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, like even something like Minority Report, that's not really that long ago, and that was a way ahead of its time, like filmmaking wise. I mean, or of its time, if you will. But like, yeah, I was even looking at some of his more mid offerings, like Catch Me If You Can. That's a great film.
Yeah, made it to a musical.
Was it really? Oh wow, I didn't know
Yep,
that.
made it to a Broadway musical. Yep.
There's also ones he made some other movies too.
I also like
that was still when Leo was cute too.
That's true.
The question where he's like, "How do you make a movie?" Like in Seth Rogen, could be taken in the context of like, "How do you make a movie? I'm so high. I don't know. I'm freaking out." Like,
I also like the idea of like Seth Rogen was kind of going down like a Steve Carell path, where it's like he was doing like comedy this, comedy that, and he's taking a more like, oh, I can do like dramatic,
he can do some drama,
heartfelt roles. Yeah. Which is good.
But I think that in the case of Seth Rogen, like, because he's written most of the movies he's been in, I feel like he didn't think of himself as like an actor, right? And then like now that he's gotten hired to start, being an actor and stuff he didn't write, or like,
oh no, wrong hire.
like like now that he's been hired to like be in dramatic roles that he didn't write, I feel like it's a lot different for him. So it's interesting to hear him like
he's more than
yeah, like, but no, but like it's interesting to hear like fanboy out over being on the Spielberg set rather than like actually like his role in the movie, right? Like being like, oh well, I had all these questions about cinema because actually kind of I am a filmmaker and I'm doing all this stuff and like I kind of want to know how Spielberg works.
I mean, like, what? This is the end? Like, the interview is.
Oh my god, I fucking love that film.
Yeah, like it's
my favorite comedy of all time.
Again, and there's an old saying too that like it's a lot easier for people who work in comedy acting to move to drama rather than the other way around. It's usually doesn't always work the other way around. And I guess all this is apropos because I mean this is an autobiography, but it is absolutely a movie about making movies and the love of making movies, which is another reason why it's basically Oscar catnip, right? I mean, of course.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that he's not making it for that purpose. I don't think.
No.
He legitimately
he just wants to tell a story.
But he also legitimately thinks in terms of movies. Like, I watched interviews with him earlier today where he was talking about how like movies for him are more real than real life. Which I mean, some of it might be because real life is kind of fucking boring. But like, he thinks in terms of movies. Like everything that happens to him, he thinks in terms of images on the screen. And going through trauma, I think in this case, which I mean, divorce is traumatic for the kids that go through it. Sure. Not mentioning any, especially not myself, but so diving into filmmaking for him and diving into like seeing things behind a camera lens to him was his way, I think, of dealing.
Yeah, and how he dealt with that and what he put of himself into his art. I mean, like seriously, one could argue that like at least half of his filmography is about that divorce and about. In some way, shape, or form, and certainly
really impacted his life.
Yeah, the depiction of like again absent fathers and things along those lines, which then the turnaround was like, oh yeah, actually wait, it wasn't at all what I thought it was.
Also, the Velociraptors represent the bullies.
You can see that when the Velociraptors called those kids Jews, and it was like, I don't.
Can we talk about how Michelle Williams is one more Oscar
anti-Semitic
nomination?
Velociraptor? Jesus Christ! Made it a half hour, folks.
Can we talk about how Michelle Williams?
Velociraptors.
What? Kristina, whatever you want to talk about, that's what we're talking about, just to get off that topic.
Can we talk about how Michelle Williams is one Oscar nomination away from being Amy Adams?
Oh, yeah. Well, and Amy, is that what we're calling it? I mean, I got it immediately.
I think it was Susan Lucci before that, but yes, go on.
I like how we've, Christina's evoked both Steve Carell and Amy Adams in this already.
Yes.
I mean, it's not her year though. Like, and I think she was good in this role.
Year. I feel like
in a year with Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett both putting in like career best performances, it's she's good. I enjoyed it, and I wasn't mad at her.
I forgot Michelle Williams was in Brokeback Mountain until
that's how her and Heath Ledger got together.
Well, I forgot that movie kind of existed, but I was listening to.
I kind of forgot about that too, but
I was listening to Chabo Trap House do like the Life of Jimmy Carter thing or whatever, and they were talking about how they asked him if he'd ever seen Brokeback Mountain on CNN. But yeah, I don't know. I think Michelle Williams is well in this, but like
she's good. She's good. It's kind of Manic Pixie Dream Mom in a certain way, like the role.
I love
but she
how
does
her
a good job
haircut's
with.
never changed. Her hairstyle's been the same.
If you watch interviews with his mom was Manic Pixie Dream Mom. Like his mom is actually crazier. His mom actually seems zanier, maybe not crazier in real life.
No, yeah, she's got a charisma, like a charisma that Michelle Williams doesn't have in the movie, but it's not needed in the movie.
I like the idea though that he has
that would have been too distracting.
Tone his own mom down. He's like, look, my real mom, like my mom was like, pretty wild, but like maybe we should tone down the character of my mom.
My mom's an 11, so can you just come in as an 8?
Well, because it's not
people aren't ready for the full 11 mom. They need the 8 mom.
It's because it's not like the what do you call it, it's not about her. She's the inciting incident for the story. It's about like the effect on the family and so on and so on. So if you make it too much better, then people are gonna start like maybe identifying with her or whatever and be like, no, like this again. As much as I think like this is pretty low grade trauma by my own personal narrative and my own personal upbringing, it's like wow, that's it. That's what it is. Okay, lucky.
Doesn't seem too bad.
that seems I would have killed to have like that level of trauma. Like Jesus Christ. But like for a lot of people, that is like the worst thing that ever happened to you.
Spielberg is such a softie.
And he defined his entire adulthood, and that's fine. I'm
just saying, Vin Diesel would have never let this happen.
Wouldn't have happened if I was there.
he's like, Uncle Benny, what are you doing? Nothing's more important than family.
That's exactly. Yeah.
That's the Fablemans I want to see now.
Well, that's this Steven Spielberg.
The Fast and the Fablemans.
The Fast and the Fablemans.
That's good. All right, that's good.
But
Which, by the way, the Fablemans is not an.
He did say Fast and Furious in the interview, which is why I put that in because I knew it would be long gone.
The Fablemans is not like he's like, wow, it's like my family. This is like a fable. And I'm a guy like the Fableman.
I'm a man.
Fableman. Like
it's like Vin Fable.
Uncle. By the way, his real dad's name is Arnold, but he called his dad what do you call it, Bert in this. But the real uncle guy that the mom fell in love with, his real name was Bernie. And in this, he called him Ben. Like he barely covered up the uncle's name. Anything. And like he gave his dad the cover. So I respect it. He didn't talk to his dad for 15 years because his dad said that it was his idea to get divorced. And then later on, like 10 years later, he found out like no, like the dad was covering for the mom.
He took the punch. He took the and basically
he took 2 punches because the mom fell in love with his best friend. He didn't have his best friend anymore, and then he took the fucking fall. Good guy.
And then basically had like deadbeat dad characterizations made of him for like multiple movies over the years.
Yeah.
God, that has to be embarrassing as a parent when your
nailed it.
child makes art about you and it's like, oh, really? You're really.
But it's not even it's not even the actual like it's the version of him that he put out there to be like covering for the mom, which is even worse. Like, oh, like my son thinks I'm a piece of shit, and it's not even something I did. Like,
also, exactly. I do really like Paul Dano in this role because it really shows like he really is a good up and comer. Like, I can't believe he's already given like his most iconic role, and I'm like, he's just getting started.
I can't believe he's portraying a dad, and it totally makes sense as age appropriate. I'm like, what? That kid's a dad? I'm like, oh shit, he's 38.
He didn't ask young Spielberg any riddles though.
My favorite role of his was playing a young Brian Wilson in Love and Mercy.
Oh yeah, I didn't ever see that, but
it's so good. Yeah. John Cusack plays an older Brian Wilson. It's really, really good film.
At one point,
he's really great in Prisoners. Obviously, like
I'm just waiting for him to play Donald Trump.
Just keep waiting.
So, I guess somebody should.
I hope no one does.
Yeah, Little Miss Sunshine. That's what I was trying to think of. Like, you could tell that he was a badass just from that, and he was like, it's pretty young. That's pre There Will Be Blood, which is why most people came to know him. Which he's great in that also. Like, I mean, 2 roles.
At one point, they tried to bring him in as like a kind of younger version of like Michael Cera, and then Josh Gad is like a younger version of Jonah Hill. Like, they tried to make that pairing. Both of them do other things though. Like, both of them do other things really well.
Yeah. And
they didn't need to do that. But I forget the name of the movie, but like they did like a Hangover ripoff with the 2 of them.
just gotta test the waters for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think he's really good in this role, and the fact that there's not a whole lot of like big things for the dad character to do, really. He's sort of there to sort of quietly suffer and kind of take one for the team multiple times. And I think it works well because you have the dichotomy of him and the son, right? The Spielberg stand-in, and I think it wouldn't have worked if he was more of an exciting character, or if there had been more fireworks about what was going on, right? Like, how amazing is it? The one of the scenes I really like for the main narrative, like that aren't like the soliloquies of the Judd Hirsch and David Lynch is when he has the epiphany that they're having an affair. Like, and he does that while he's like editing, and like he like is looking at them. That is a really powerful moment, because that's sort of like, oh, and I don't know if it's real or not. I don't care, frankly. It's a great scene. Like,
no, it is real. It is like that actually is how it happened.
That's nuts for especially for someone that basically like swore their sword to film, right? They have like such a defining moment of their childhood. Be something literally captured on film, like that's like whatever.
By the way, it all worked out for the dad in the end, because look at this. He got to meet to meet Barry. So
there you go.
It kind of I mean, it's the perfect revenge, not revenge, but like the dad obviously really didn't like believe in, because he's like he's like almost an autistic level of focused on the like. I wonder if the dad had like a little bit of like low grade Asperger's.
Seems like it could have. Well, think about what he was doing, right? He was doing programming back when that meant tubes, literal tubes.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like every time he's been invoked, which he did some amazing things in the field of computers, but every time he's invoked, it's like Steven Spielberg's father did some amazing things in the field of computers. Like it's always like.
And also Paul Dano's really good at playing like characters who are kind of like on the spectrum, or people who are struggling with like something. Yeah, like obviously with Brian Wilson was his schizophrenia. With Riddler, it's clearly some type of like psychosis.
Riddle disorder.
But
he's got riddle disorder. It's incurable.
Yeah.
Some riddle.
But like, in my opinion, he was perfectly cast for the role of the dad.
I swear I thought of that joke after. It would have been funny if I had put that whole thing out there just so I could make that joke, but I didn't. I thought of it when you said
Chill out.
Well, there's plenty like Swiss Army Man, like Ocha, like he likes taking roles that are interesting and different, and like but then again, if Steven Spielberg goes, hey, I want you to be my movie dad. Okay, yes, I will do that. You say yes. Someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. If Ghostbusters have taught us nothing.
All right, so this is Michelle Williams and Paul Dano talking about which Steven Spielberg pronounces it Paul Dano. I don't know if that's like how
it's either or.
Well, I think it was Dino that he called him before.
Like Paul Dynamite, am I right? Hey!
Seth Rogen as Barney and Paul Dino as Fred Flintstone. In the Flintstones reboot.
Paul Dinosaur, yes.
That was my joke. Yeah.
Good reference. Good reference.
Michelle and Paul, when you're playing a person who, since Mitzi and Bert are fictionalized versions of Leah and Arnold, but were there questions you had for Steven about who they were or what they were like? What kind of conversations did you have with him as you were finding the characters?
Well, it started from the moment that we met over Zoom. It was an immediate kind of spilling over of stories and recollections, and just sharing and sharing and sharing, and it was that way. It was that way. It continues to be that way. So it questions arose, but there was already so much in front of us to absorb and to sit with, So it began from the moment that we spoke.
Yeah, I think Steven's vulnerability, frankly, and openness, opened the door for all of us. I think, including the crew, to bring that part of ourselves to work. And I should also say that the script that Stephen and Tony wrote was beautiful. I mean, Michelle and I had said to each other, how lucky are we, that this is the language, these are the words that we get to work with. So not only was Stephen there for us in every open-hearted step about his life, his family. We also had beautiful characters on the page to sort of bring together Stephen's memories, his life, who are Bert and Mitzi, and who are Michelle and Paul, and where do those things meet? Because I think that's the only way to really capture the essence of who Bert and Mitzi are, is not through any kind of trying to please a memory, or but where do we all meet this together, and what are we making together?
Yeah, I love Michelle Williams' voice. Like, I know she's from Montana, but it's almost as if it's it's almost Grace Kelly-esque. Like, her voice is very,
she's
I don't know
good.
how to describe it.
Yeah. And her hair is very Karen-esque.
She can rock the manic pixie look. Like, she rocks that short hair. I'm like, oh god, like if anyone could play Mia Farrow in a biography of her life,
oh yeah, she'd be perfect.
Michelle Williams is like, that will be her Academy Award winning moment.
That'll be your ear finally, and Amy Adams can be supporting actress. Same here.
Yeah.
Also, so Spielberg said that he kept getting almost lost in their portrayals because like they were so by the end, like by the time they shot, like they were so good at playing his parents, and he had to like fight the entire time to like not like, because I guess he showed the production designer. And which, now I pay attention to production designers because of our friend Katie Byron.
Like, Katie Byron, friend of the show,
So he showed the production designer all these pictures of his house. Production designer came back with like a set that literally was just his house, like as a kid. So he was like fighting the entire time to like get lost in like the weird nostalgia of like his movie parents. That
it's got to be crazy, right?
That's a great take, Dad. Let's do it one more time, though.
Yeah. Hey, Dad, if you could. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Paul. My dad.
Hey, Dad, could you say the line? I'm proud of you, Stevie. All right, sorry.
Say it slower. Yeah.
When he finally made Jaws, he took his dad to see it to be like, "See, Dad, I made a movie." And his dad, pretty much at the end of it, goes, "Geez, Stevie, that was real neat."
that was an exact quote. That's awesome.
No, yeah, that was the exact phrase. He was like, "Geez, Stevie, that was real neat." And he was like, "That's when I knew my dad like believed in me." It was like, wow, actually, you know what? Actually, really good portrayal in this, because I can 100% imagine that.
Yeah, because you could totally see that scene.
Yeah,
if they gone further on. I like that. One, again, all I've done is like trash talk, like the fact that his trauma is was it my pain and sadness is more painful than your pain and sadness. Yeah, but like,
well, it's Midwest emo kid sadness.
It feels like a family though, and like be it troubled if you think of things only in terms of the traditional nuclear family, or what it does feel like a family, which is why it's so great when hello torrential rage. Why it's so great when Uncle Boris comes in, because Uncle Boris is like, oh, that's Uncle Boris. He's showing up. Huh? All right. Like they all kind of like are like bracing for it because he kind of comes in like a tornado. But Judd Hirsch,
the spirit of their grandma tried to warn them, but they didn't listen.
I mean, and that for that small role, Judd Hirsch gets a supporting actor nomination, and honestly deserves it. Like, because now it's such an incredible speech, I guess, like talk. I don't even know like what you would call it, but it's absolutely astounding. Like, it stops you. It takes you completely out of the narrative, but then it brings you back into it because when you think about what he's talking about. Yeah, and like that the closing bits, especially.
It kind of recontextualizes a few things too, because like
right.
The movie is a little meandering before that. You know, like it's just kind of going here and there, and
that's the one. That's the one.
Not quite focused as to what the movie is trying to be just yet. Like it's getting there, and then this scene, it's like, oh, this is the movie we're watching. Okay, now
and I thought it was going to go in a completely different direction because you have the scene with the mom. You know, I watched this with my mom, and both of us thought it was going to go in a real different direction. With, you know, first she's dancing and she seems kind of out of it.
It looks like it could go way darker.
Yeah,
I think I know what you're getting at.
and and it seems like maybe she was going to like lose her mind, and then the uncle comes and it's like, oh, like that actually kind of was a sign, but then, you know, it's a sign of not. Well, it's like a dark moment for him in the sense that, like, you know, it hurts when when uncle. You know, when his uncle pulls his cheeks and stuff, but like it ends up actually transcending his life, or and
because he thinks because he talks about the real opportunity cost of being an art. Yeah, you'll be ashamed of your loved ones, right? Like that's like, and how he's talking about that it's not easy to be an artist, and that like it's difficult not just for you but the people around you, and that's I think
divorce was the most traumatic event for boomers who didn't go to Vietnam.
Fair enough. But like I think you're right. I think that is where the film kind of turns, where you're like he's looking, he's like weighing the options of like the cost of what he wants to do and what he actually like is compelled to do, and realizes that, hey, it's more than just making cool stuff. Like there's a opportunity cost for what's happening in his family. There's an opportunity cost for him that like it could have ramifications down the line that he had never thought of until like the crazy circus uncle came in and gave him this incredible speech.
And I think it recontextualizes his mother's, you know, why his mother is the way she is because she's really unfulfilled in, you know, wanting to be a concert pianist, and then you know, like she didn't get to fulfill that, and you know, I don't think she resents the fact that she didn't get to fulfill that, but like, and the father,
but you're right, it's an unfulfilled dream, and like the fact that like when she's playing just for the family or whatever, she's happy in the act of doing it, but it is something where,
despite those long ass nails, right?
Enough with the clicking, everyone's busting her chops about it, exactly, like Kristina over there, Oscar worthy nails, Kristina Oakes.
So this is Judd Hirsch talking about how he actually kind of had the same experience because he wasn't originally going to be an actor.
Congratulations, the film, your performance is incredible. I'm wondering for you, you play somebody that gives Gabriel's character advice about being fearless and going into show business. Yeah. And I know that you originally were going to be an engineer before you became an actor. Did somebody give you that advice, or what gave you the gestalt to become an artist?
The same thing the character I play did to him. He said, art is a drug within him. And he knew that the kid had the same drug. And that he would never be able to kill that instinct in himself. He will suffer, but he'll suffer, but that's what's going to happen, because you can't kill it, because it's going to make you who you are. You're not going to be able to deny it. It's one of those things. The word is art. And if you want to say it's about acting, it's about painting, it's about music, that's the one. And that's the job that I had as an actor doing this character to bring forth. It was written that art is the true center of the scene, okay? It's going to hopefully carries on through the movie in various ways. But this guy's going to be out of bounds and from somewhere, right? I didn't say this to Steven. I said, it seems like an oracle has somehow come into this room. And my confusion was, I am looking like I'm destroying a boy, you know?
Or making his life.
That's right. Because the only thing he ever told me was it changed his life. The man changed his life. And that was the whole reason to have the scene. It is a moment in a man's life is what, of course, the movie is, right?
Yeah.
The moments of his life. This was one which changed, because he wasn't going to do this anymore. He was going to, and this guy came at the right time and told him, in effect, he will suffer and has to.
You just inspired me. I'm going to change my life now. One thing I do know is
I
that
believe you.
You actually directed Steven in one of the scenes. Steven talked about how you said, no, the camera should be over here. And he actually took your advice.
No, there was a moment because one of the most important things in the movies is that Steven's mother played the piano. And she should have been a concert pianist, but she didn't. She couldn't. Family, in a way, forced her not to do the thing that Art said to do. Okay, so this guy, because he had to do it himself and get out and move and leave his family to do it, recognized that she didn't do it. So he's trying to tell her son, she should have done it. I was angry. Should have done it. Got to choose an emotion, right? What is it? If I'm going to come across to you by telling you how important this is to you, and your mother didn't do it, you got a choice: feeling sorry for her or not blaming her or whatever. No.
So you changed. How did you change the scene then? Like, how did you change?
Oh, well, no. So he said. So I knew she was a pianist, a really good one, and she plays in the movie. So it was an important thing in Steven's life that this mother of his was so good. In our scene, we hear the piano playing. She's playing down the hall. She's playing in the living room. And he said, do you want to hear it? I said, yes. Will you give me an earpiece so I can listen to the music because I'm about to say, shh, wait a minute, right? And the scene was, I would just say, wait a minute, and stand there and listen. And finally, I thought, oh man, this is too good. This is much too good. This is gonna affect me. And how I know. Open the door, look out, and because it's coming from down the hall. And so I said, could you just do a sing along? Maybe you open the door and just see me listening to it? Because I said, wait a minute, oh shh, right? He said, yeah.
And it's in the movie.
Yeah. And then in about 5 seconds, the cameraman says, can we put a camera out there? Okay, can we light it? Yeah, okay, yes.
It's awesome. I mean, like,
you really
Judd
have the
Hirsch
results right there.
Well, I mean, like, he's such a that guy actor at this point, right? I mean, like, when people remember him, they're like, oh yeah, wasn't he Jeff Goldblum's dad in Independence Day? It's like, oh my god, he's done like so many amazing things, and yes, he was. He was good in that. yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they asked about Taxi.
like
I
a
feel
Leo
like too.
meme.
Like that's the first. Which I mean, he got like Emmys for that and shit. But like,
sure. But I'm talking about like, and he's in stuff like Serpico. Like he's great. But like, and Ordinary People, of course, I guess is that the last time he got an Oscar nomination?
I believe so.
And that was what 1980.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Jesus Christ. And he gets
around
his
for a while.
nomination. He gets his nomination ostensibly for again, the only movie I can think of that's in parallel to it is Network, right?
Yeah.
Because like think of like Ned Beatty's speech, which is like it's like Jesus Christ, like oh my god, that's like it sticks to you. Like because and it's coming from such an authoritative place, and the fact that he chose to like no, I'm gonna play this angry. Like I'm pissed at her for not following her dreams, and but then by the same token,
I had to stick my head in the mouth of lion.
but he also understands the situation that like it's a thing that's not just a burden you carry yourself, it's a burden everyone around you and everyone you love carries, and that is what being an artist is. And again, one of the most hard relatable things in the entire movie. For anyone like in the arts for sure, because 100% of it's true. I mean, I looked it up, and I think people are quoting in the chat, but art will give you crowns in heaven and laurels on earth, but also will tear your heart out and leave you lonely. It'll be a shanda for your loved ones, an exile in the desert, a gypsy. Art is no game. Art is dangerous as a lion's mouth, and it'll bite your head off.
Sometimes, literally.
Yeah,
I mean his version of art, like it is art, right? Like learning how to.
Well, I mean, but the type of art doesn't matter. Like, exactly.
Like the engineering that his dad does in the film is also can be seen in a way an art.
Right. It's because it's something that he believes in, that like he's putting himself into in a way,
there's creative process, and you're coming up with things to deal with it, and it's different. Like it is as different from painting as it is from music making as it is to editing a film.
Sure.
My father was an engineer. So like I get that. I relate. It's like the movie is of me.
Yeah, I mean, like I have kind of a similar thing with. I mean, like I don't really have a good relationship with my dad, but he's an architect, and like I feel like that's kind of almost like the. And my brother's an engineer, so it's like, my brother kind of followed in the footsteps of my dad's like technical skill with that, and I feel like, I like he's very literal brained. Actually, he got a job at IBM. Like it's kind of a, and my mom and my dad are both like very artistic. I mean, maybe the other one too, but
I'm nothing like my parents. They're like, I don't know what happened to you. They're like, they love
Like
me.
you're adopted.
My parents love me. Like my dad, obviously but like I'm more art. I'm nothing like my sister is a lot like my dad. She's very athletic, not into like artsy stuff. I mean, she likes her music. She likes some of her favorite films. A lot of them are about like sports. My sister's completely like all my dad's side of the
that's the genre of film that I really have never and will never get into. Just like movies about
Same.
sports.
That's a different
basketball,
conversation.
though.
That's a different conversation that I would love to have sometime as someone who's not a sports lover, but has a genuine love for certain types of sports film. But the more important thing is the main point that we're making, which is in fact this Uncle Boris scene sealing thing. It's so hard relatable as an artist because he's coming from perspective of, okay, whatever you think of the circus, right? Like whatever you think of it, it's his art. And just it's like wing walking or something, right? Well, is that an art? Sure, but that's his art. And he's warning Sammy that like if this doesn't like this is something you got to be ready for the ramifications. Because imagine if he hadn't made Jaws. Imagine if he hadn't done Close Encounters, and he just was like a skilled filmmaker that was like true heads know, like all the stuff we cover, where it's like, oh, so and so, they're so great. It's this movie should have been bigger, but this happened, this didn't happen, et cetera, and like the trial until it can take for like in this case we're talking about film, but like music, books, anything, any type of art. There is an opportunity cost for it, and you rarely hear that expressed because everyone's just. Much like there's no working class in America, there's just temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Like if you're the idea and the logical fallacy, like brought forth by things like Almost Famous and stuff like that, is that anybody that has any creative spark, it's just a matter of time before they're discovered and before their platform remains successful. When in reality, heroes and incredible geniuses stuff dies on the vine all the time unnoticed.
Yeah.
Well,
and you have to be ready for that if you're an actual artist, and you have to be ready for the fact that you might not only fail, you might do everything right, and it just never gets to where you want to be.
Well, but we love a
that
success
right now.
story, right? And it's like we love a success story.
We love a success story, people.
But it's like the artists that are telling those stories are the ones that are successful, right? Like there could be a million films about unsuccessful artists that we'll never see because they're made by. The artists that didn't.
So the fact that Spielberg, one of the biggest directors of fucking movie making, period, like throwing this on film, that's actually incredibly point. I mean, for me, it gets the movie a whole extra star as far as I'm concerned, because like that's a powerful message to be putting out there, and the fact that he would have the self-awareness to put it out there and to like put it in such a pivotal in the hands of such a skilled actor, too, and have it be such a pivot point of the movie. It's what makes it. It raises a lot in my estimation.
And you could see it almost as a a fight going on in Spielberg's own brain, I think, with his own friend group at the time of like New Hollywood, right? Like he's like the movies that blew up for him are the ones that are the ones that are crowd pleasers. They're not necessarily the ones where he invokes something personal inside of himself. Those movies might not be successful, whereas a movie like Jaws, which isn't something that maybe invokes the artist in him, but it is technically a skilled movie. Is the one that ends up kind of blowing up. So you could almost see it as like a dialogue in his own head too.
Sure. I mean, when you've made as many films as you have, you're like, why this one and not that one? There's certain things like, I mean,
I know it's a thing.
AI, right? That was like a poignant for him for a number of reasons, and like not one of the best. There's reasons why it isn't, but okay. You got to imagine. He had a moment where it was like Ready Player One. This is it. This is gonna be my new. This is gonna be my new Close Encounters or whatever, and it's gonna be for a new generation. And then it was like, oh no, it wasn't. No,
they weren't ready. That's the thing, I'm
still not ready, frankly. If you ask me, but then again, look at Cameron and Avatar, and those. I'm gonna stop myself right there.
People love those films, but Conan and I,
they sure do.
Well, I mean, and a good friend of Spielberg is Coppola, And the movies that blew up for him and actually like gave him the money to direct the movies he wanted to was The Godfather, which I think really amazing, series, like first two movies.
My favorite, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
But that's not like he wasn't making artistic stuff he wanted to make. He was making kind of
pretty intimate films,
the schlop for the masses in his mind.
Well, and there was a big thing that, like, there was it's Italian exploitation and this and that, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's that series it's on Streaming Impairment Plus called The Offer, and it's good. It's worth watching, especially if you're a fan of how movies are made and the source material of it. There's things that are just goofy as hell about it, but it's overall very enjoyable. Miles Teller continues to wander into great roles. I think that was meant for the cannibal. I shouldn't say that. Army Hammer. That was meant to be Army Hammer originally. Aspiring cannibal. Sorry, we got the error.
Yeah.
Aspiring cannibal. What a fucking.
Well, you know what I think about it. You know what I think about it.
It's Italian discrimination. Exactly. I mean, like that's what they thought at the time, and then so it's. But it's amazing because now it's like there's a great. I don't want to spoil the series, but it's historical record where they screen it for a bunch of connected people. Like it's one of the first screenings, and the guy's like, that might be the best movie I've ever seen. And it's like, for a lot of people,
it invoked though my favorite phrase I've ever heard in my entire fucking life, which is Italians that reject that kind of cultural image. Wonder Bread Wop.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. But again, like, is that what Coppola saw himself doing? No, he didn't want to do it at first. He was totally not into it. He's like, that's stupid. I don't want to.
Well, and then he made The Godfather 2 in order to get money to make The Conversation, which is kind of an amazing thing that we learned.
I've got on record as saying, I think The Conversation is a brilliant movie, and Godfather 2 is one of the all-time great sequels. Like it's because it turns it on.
I learned a lot about union busting too.
Yeah, I remember that as well from the earlier conversation. Yeah, very offhandedly. I was like, oh, whoa, no, like don't say that. Don't say it. But yeah, getting back to Spielberg.
Don't tell them he went to the Philippines for that reason. Jesus.
Right, exactly. Oh, by the way, I got out the shark for the Jaws reference. So
oh, bring it close to the camera, like in 3D, and it was like.
My favorite
drawing the screen crack.
I have a well, I guess it's a whale, not a shark, but my favorite all-time picture of Spielberg is him in the mouth of this one's
in the mouth of Jaws, yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he really that shark really kind of fucked him. Not literally, but
that Shape of Water. Wait, what?
Hey,
right?
I like this one, and I like this when he's in the mouth of lions.
That's awesome. But okay.
You want me to stick my head in the mouth of sharks?
But I like that, like when in the Uncle Boris talk speech, whatever. It's very clear that like he's taking him literally at first and like not getting what he's throwing down. But then there's kind of like this epiphany. He's like, oh wait, no, I see what you're saying. And like he's thinking about these ways that adults act with each other. And he's thinking about only in terms of how it affects him, a kid. But it's his first epiphany of like, oh yeah, okay, like so the choices I make like as an adult. Well, it's a real. It elevates the film. Frankly, there's two scenes that elevate the film, and they're both cameos from very talented people that are not the principals.
Yeah,
so that and
well, all right. So first things first. I think it's really funny that Judd Hirsch was like, this character's not real, right? Like you've just kind of added this character to
Uncle Boris.
He's like, no, I really have an Uncle Boris, and he really gave me the speech, which is an amazing. But I wanted to ask you guys about the David Lynch cameo. How do you guys feel about that? I think it's amazing personally, but yeah,
truly, we are in the golden age of directors acting.
Yeah.
Yes. More of it, please.
Astounding. There's no better way in this movie, and the fact that it's like an Inception sort of salute to filmmaking itself with actual filmmaking advice, as Andy described as being like more actionable items than in any actual classes. Fantastic, and that it's done by like an not autistic director playing another auteur, and like having it be so matter of fact and offhanded, and then also being like a real thing that happened, or at least he says so and said so for years and years and years before this. great. And also, like, again, another one of the most amazing cameos. Like, my two favorite moments in this movie are from people that are not principally in the movie. Just in these scenes.
Yes.
But it works because, like, again, you can do that kind of thing with movies. And again, I'm just gonna keep going back to Network, right? Where it's like you got Ned Beatty showing up and like, you're like, how? Oh, he's like one of the principals of that movie. No, he isn't. He's barely in it. He's barely in it. But you remember Alec Baldwin in Glengarry Glen Ross. I know it was a stage play. I know David Mamet, blah blah blah. But he's not in that film that much. But you remember, like, put the coffee down.
Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice. Like, he's only in there for 15 minutes.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, it's the same thing, you know.
Can't believe it. It's a Friday once again.
Like Blade 3, that has a cameo by Blade.
This is him. This is Spielberg telling the actual story for the millionth time to directors that pretend they've never heard the story, but
I never heard this one before.
They're like, oh, was he wearing the famous eye patch? And he's like, well, he was. And he was.
It's like a hack TV host trying to feed the lines.
I was always wanting to be a director since I was a little kid. I was in LA visiting my second cousins, and my second cousin had one contact in the movie business, but it wasn't really the movie business, it was the television business. And he introduced me to this person who created Hogan's Heroes. I was about 15 at the time. And this guy said, well, you don't want to talk to me. You want to be a movie maker. Why don't you go next door? You know who's next door? I said, no, who? Jack Ford. Called him Jack Ford. Jack Ford's right next door. I'll take you across the hall. He takes me across the hallway and he takes me into the office, and Jack Ford's assistant or secretary, as they were called in those days, was sitting there, and John Ford wasn't there, and so she said I could wait. He was out at lunch, back any minute, and I sat waiting for John Ford to arrive and talking to her, and about 40 minutes later, this old dude walks into the room wearing like a safari jacket and a patch over an eye, chewing on a handkerchief with a half, chewed up and very masticated and wet cigar in his hand. I saw all this stuff instantly, and he had kiss marks, but I mean, like not makeout marks, but the kind of perfect kiss marks, 2 on his cheek here, 2 here, a couple on the forehead. And he walks right into his office, and his assistant grabs a box of Kleenex and runs in after him. And then she comes out about 5 minutes later, and she's got the Kleenex. It's all red. And she says, "Okay, you've got 5 minutes, probably 1 minute, with him. That's it." And I walked into the office, and he was sitting behind his desk with his feet up on the desk, and he sat me down, and he just said, "So they tell me you want to be a picture maker," is what he called it. I never heard that before, but I never forgot it.
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I really do. I've made all these little 8mm movies." And he said, "What do you know?" He said, "What do you know about art?" And I just was stammering. I wasn't expecting that question. He said, "You see those paintings around the office?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, get up and walk over to the first painting." He said, "Tell me what you see in that painting." And I said, "Well, I see 2 Indians on horses." He said, No. Where's the horizon?"
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I said, "Well, the horizon's, way above the head of the Indians." He said, "Fine, walk on to the next one." He said, "What do you see in that painting?" And stupidly I said, "Well, there's some cavalry on horses." I hadn't learned anything, And he said, No, where's the horizon? And I said, "Well, the horizon is the very, very bottom of the painting." He said, "Okay, get over here." And I stood in front of his desk. He said, "When you're able to distinguish the art of the horizon at the bottom of a frame or at the top of the frame, but not going right through the center of the frame, when you're able to appreciate why it's at the top and why it's at the bottom, you might make a pretty good picture maker. Now get the out of here."
I like how Ron Howard's like, wow, like in the way that, like, when someone's heard like a drunken story for the 50th time, like, oh yeah, here he goes with this one again.
Yeah, but John Favreau's into it.
But John Favreau's like, I'm here, I'm right here. Tell me what happened next.
Well, I mean, you could also think that maybe John Favreau and him probably aren't that close, but him and Ron Howard have definitely hung out.
Ron Howard has definitely heard that story.
And also, like, John Favreau, I would put in the category of Steven Spielberg.
Favreau's great.
Yeah, no, and he makes those kind of big movies that Spielberg does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's why, like, I feel like there's a direct connection between, Spielberg and like the Marvel kind of, like as a franchise, right? Like that kind
of. No, but it's got nothing to do with Marvel. I mean, think of like Cowboys and Aliens. What was it we were talking about? Cowboys and Aliens should have been like, if it had gotten some decent support, it's only okay. Like, but there's some things that are like that could have been like a Spielberg style. That was Favreau's trying to do like a Spielberg kind of thing. Right?
I'm just saying but I'm just saying like in terms of franchises, right? Like in terms of the cultural mood that we're in, the cultural zeitgeist we're in, I feel like we're in a Spielbergian moment in the same way that Seth Rogen said, if he had different sensibilities, we might not all be into like action movies in the same way, right? Like,
sure. No, I get you on that. And it's notable because, look, I think anyone that makes movies on some level, whether they're going to name him as they're probably not going to name him as like a favorite director, because that's like saying, oh, my favorite band's the Beatles. Oh yeah, we get it. All right. Is it really? That's your favorite?
I feel so bad for the Kinks right now because they're going through a lot right now with their name because of Juniper or whatever their name is on Twitter.
The fuck? What are you even talking about? Juniper? What is that?
Was that?
There was a tweet where Juniper, she was like,
"Who the fuck is Juniper? What's a Juniper?
It's just a Twitter account that did that invented the name Goblin Mode because they did a fake article about Julia Fox. Anyway, so they said they were like they were trying to do the Tucker Carlson thing where
I'm
they're
just
like
saying the Kinks are better than the Beatles.
All right, it's not important.
So the Kinks are like, the Kinks are the true heads know of that.
Well, just because their name's Kinks. That's what. And then the guy from the lead singer of the Kinks got all mad about it. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, like it's whatever. But I forgot what the original point of that was. But like it's so saying that Spielberg's your favorite director is like saying like my favorite band's the Beatles. Like, look, everyone likes the Beatles. We fucking know. We all know all the Beatles songs. Like, why don't you say the Stooges or the Kinks or like, Blue Cheer or something? Like those are my favorite bands. And those would be like the equivalent of like a David Lynch or something along those lines where it's like, oh man, if you love film, Jesus Christ, even if you don't like it, you have to see a David Lynch film just to be like, wow, what he did with mood was so amazing. What he did with this, these shots are so incredible. But like, that's the analogy to it. And so for like
that Horizon was just,
I mean, he does do good Horizon work, which is hilarious.
Happy Twin Peaks Day.
Happy Twin Peaks Day, indeed. And I get what Seth Rogen's going for, where he's. I just wanted to, spend time to see what he was up to see what he's doing. Why wouldn't you? Because this guy is like made like again. People don't even acknowledge the misses. They make excuses for him, like whatever, it's like Iggy Pop making Butttown, and it's like is that good? No, it's terrible, but it doesn't matter because like this is the same guy who did like Lust for Life and The Passenger and like that unfuckable run. A fuck-withable run of the Three Stooges records that are absolutely astounding. Enough. I'm just saying that, like, to take away the main point is that, like, Iggy Pop can make as many butt towns as he wants. He's still like an incredible musician and all-timer. Steven Spielberg I shouldn't name the movies I don't like. Can make a bunch of movies that I don't like, that don't connect with the audiences, that don't do what they're supposed to do. Doesn't matter. Did he still make Jaws? Yeah, shut up. But the thing is, I think he gets that on some level because he's like, it's almost like he's one of those directors. It's like Scorsese. It's too big to fail.
Well, you see, the shark in Jaws was his dad, and
like I didn't care for The Last Duel, but like it's Martin Scorsese. Jesus jumping Christ! You like these things called movies? Do you like these things? Yeah. Well, he's made a couple of them, and they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And so, but then where does that end? And like, who gets to like write the history and this and that? And this is him kind of contextualizing all of that, where he's being like, look, and again, whatever I personally think of as generational trauma as being like, that's it.
Yeah. And I think too, like Stephen King also ruined it for us because Stephen King's bullies were so much worse. And it's the same era.
But also the anti-Semitism in this is like very, very on the nose.
It's almost like cartoon anti-Semitism, and I hate to say that, but like it's like really that's the
like not even creative stuff,
They called you Spielbagel or something. That's the worst you got out of it.
But no, I like where they're like, I don't like Jews, and it's like nobody's that like upfront about their anti-Semitism. They'd say globalists. They say
yeah.
but I think it's you know, but then he kind of lays into it, and again, I guess like the Christian girlfriend was made up as his friends from back in the day so helpfully pointed out. It's like, oh yeah, he never had like a hot Christian girlfriend. That never happened.
No,
it's a
bitches.
fucking
I
movie,
believe it.
you morons. It's a movie. It's not a documentary.
Yeah, but you know that's what the tabloids were looking for.
Oh yeah.
I do like that the headline that the tabloids like when they
some petty little snitch was like, oh, I'm gonna tell him.
But I do like that it's no girlfriend, and it just the first thing I thought of was the thing that's like no bitches with the.
It kind of reminds me of like directors using like, you know, everything is, again, it's not a documentary, but it reminds me of the fact where like in the musical, in the film adaptation Jersey Boys, there's a character reporting Lorraine that Frankie Valli dates, but she's a representation of all the women he had like relationships with on the road after his divorce from Mary Delgado. So it's like, you know, they always
Like
make
a
one person
Gestalt,
represent multiple
person.
people.
Yeah. Like it's a stand-in. There wasn't an actual depiction of a real person, but a representation of many people.
You take different influences of different people, morph them into one person.
That's true. That is true. I have had. Let's see, how many people from the Stooges I've had on? Well, Mike Watt was in the Stooges. I had James Williamson on. I did not get to either Ashton before they died. Would have loved to have Ron Ashton. Iggy, call me.
Stooges.
Fucking, if you're gonna talk to anyone, I'm your man.
That's right.
Put it out there in the world.
I like how
I assume he has my number. I don't know. Everyone else seems to have it.
I like how Iggy Pop though, like anytime a director calls is just in. But like,
like that Jim Jarmusch zombie movie where him and Debbie Harry are zombies, and there's no reason for them to be in that movie other than the fact that like it sounds like a laugh, and I appreciate that.
Although the only movie he didn't do was the
Shooting in Phoenicia, New York.
Because they asked him to be in that movie, but he couldn't do it because he had like the first Crow movie. He was in the second.
The first Crow movie. Okay.
Yes, he was in the second one, which is terrible. But
I didn't watch it because I don't like things that suck.
Yeah, well, honestly, there's a good movie in there. It's kind of like the Batman, except they cut out all the good parts.
I'll never know because I won't watch it.
Yes.
This is my hold on. This is my representation of Andy.
What was he supposed to play? Was he supposed to play?
He was Fun Boy.
Oh,
the heroin addict.
This is my representation.
That's actually who it was based on in the comic too.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would have been appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would have been.
This is my representation of Andy dropping
a
a random movie reference that everyone else is shocked by.
I am the monkey.
They really had a monkey. Like, by the way,
yeah, the monkey has a name, Crystal. I believe.
I'm glad they didn't CGI in the monkey like Jumanji or something. That would have been horrible.
I guess there were animal rights
actors and actresses.
There were animal rights activists though that were mad that they brought a monkey on set. I don't know why you would be.
They're trained to act.
Yeah,
just like dogs.
Exactly.
Toto and the Wizard of Oz. His real name was Terry.
There's some actors that do a worse job than that monkey did. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you want to hear their names? It's no.
Hey, don't you want to be a star? The monkey's better than you.
So okay, I think the film does a good job, and Michelle Williams does a great job of showing that her unrealized and unfulfilled artistic ambitions had just led to like this deep unhappiness in life that manifests in kind of like weird ways, and then like you get to see how the other kids that are not the Steven Spielberg stand-in Fableman react to it too, where like, you know, when like the really cool,
she wish she didn't have you.
the car, the lights, the backlit thing, and like, you know, the one sister's like, you know, oh, this is embarrassing, you know, cover it up, you know, like and like this, and not even understanding why their mom, who again, they're not seen as a fully articulated and real person. They're seen as their mom, and kids naturally don't. They don't think of it in terms of being anything other than an extension of themselves that has some orbit around them. And I think that's
both like a heroic or a villainous figure, and not as a fully realized person, like at the same time.
But Sammy Fableman starts seeing her like but through the lens of the camera. as this like figure of interest, and he doesn't even understand why at first. And then that changes when he sees like the footage of her and the Seth Rogen character cheating, and then he like it upsets him so much that it puts him off of actually doing it. And I love the turnaround of what's Seth Rogen's character's name? I can't remember his name. He's like he gets him the camera and basically like gives him like a much less inspiring, rousing speech, but basically puts him back on the path to a certain degree, even though like he doesn't want anything to do with
sleeping with the camera under his, like, even when he's swears off filmmaking forever, he's still sleeping with the camera underneath his pillow, which you could probably assume that one day he got the opportunity to film something and jumped on it, but like
well, I mean, if a brother
makes a lot of sense
in,
that
how
it's
else
like
are you gonna catch him?
well, no, but it makes sense that like it's like some girlfriend or something in the movie that's like, here's an opportunity, and he's like, I can't pass this opportunity up, rather than probably just kind of just getting back into it and being like, I don't know.
And by the way, it's deeply funny when he gets with the Christian girl. I'm sorry, like that is deeply hilarious. And I was like, this you could make a whole like movie just of this, and
I had a date that went very similar in some respects.
Like, oh yeah, Jesus, he's aces, yeah.
But it's way funnier that he's like the one Jewish kid, and she's like, I could convert this Jewish kid, but then
and that's the impetus, that's the impetus too, like her interest.
Yeah, no, but the funny thing is, it was actually she was trying to sell me Amway and introduce me to her husband on our date.
Oh, there's the husband again. Oh, there he is. Oh,
there he is.
This is a different Uncle Bernie.
Yeah.
By the way, there could be a completely opposite version of this movie where Vin Diesel plays the.
Go ahead. It's fine.
No, Vin Diesel plays the uncle that comes to town, and instead
I was gonna say this is the husband.
Amway. No, but like instead of the uncle coming and telling him about art, it's Vin Diesel as the uncle, and he comes and tells him nothing's more important than family, and then he just completely drops off from ever making movies again.
Family's everything.
Right. Nothing's more important than family. Family is like sticking your head in the mouth of lions.
Oh my god! Replace Judd Hirsch with Vin Diesel in this.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's
yeah. Okay, I get
the uncle comes to town and he's like, no, you can't do art. You must stick up for your family. He's like, I guess I'm never gonna make a movie again. Jesus Christ.
I just see Vin Diesel ripping a shirt, just going, "I am Groot."
There you go.
Oh Lord.
There it is, everybody. Yeah. The comedic stylings of J. Andrew World. That is such a great gif. Why are we on
what in the hell happened to my house?
What the hell happened to my house? Indeed. Are we doing letterbox one-liners? What are we doing here? What's happening?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say, what the hell happened to my house? And if you want to find out, Letterbox is a place for
yeah. I was thinking. I was so flum. I was thinking about Amway. Really? This is dropping. This is
what someone looks like dropping a Letterbox one-liner on our show. I like it's cool that like he's like, well, my wife bought a monkey. Oh wow, all right. I guess this is what we're doing now.
This is my life now. Okay. Yeah, Letterbox is of course a place for film lovers to talk out with and to each other about the films they love, the films they didn't love, the films that inexplicably brought monkeys into the household. Monkeys. And of course, all of that.
And that is the inspiration for Raiders of the Lost Ark, why there's a monkey in the movie.
It is indeed. That's a fact bomb. The Nazi Siskel's and Eberts of the world, everyone gets to have their say. Bottom up democracy.
Even this guy.
It's even this guy who's speechless currently, but maybe he's going to come up with some really witty rejoinder. And this is best expressed in the classic one-liner working on your Tie 5 in front of the Comedy Store or the brick wall. These are letterbox one-liners for the Fablemans. Let's go. Ooh, so that's why I put a monkey in Indiana Jones.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, almost made it. Almost made it. Got it.
Real heads would know.
You've been Andied. I knew Spielberg in high school. He was not nearly as stylish, and I stole his lunch money.
That's the guy that was like, no girlfriend.
Yeah, that's the guy like, no, he didn't have a girlfriend. Are you kidding me?
No bitches.
that was the snitch. That was the snitch.
It's Megamind. It's Megamind writing that.
This is exactly what Nicole Kidman was talking about, that AMC commercial.
True.
Wow.
This screenshot is a little feels a little risque, but it shouldn't be.
It is. She's in it. It's too bad she's been stuck in that hell dimension for how many centuries now? She's been in that hell dimension for a while. She's always just doing that AMC commercial.
Tom Cruise, it's the
vengeful X
Scientology void.
Yeah. Paul Dano doesn't play an unhinged weirdo in this movie, and that is very weird.
I would have I really wish they had a line where he was just like, I have a riddle for you to his son.
Right. Ray was like,
riddle me this.
Anyone else thought they were going to turn out to be a throuple?
Yeah.
I thought it was on the menu at least. I was like, all right, well.
Hey, buddy, can I get in bed with your wife? He's like, only if we do it all together.
Oh, no.
You can tell this is fiction because the Boy Scouts weren't homophobic.
Well, his version of homophobia would be like, we don't like gays, and they would just
right. They just say it. Yeah.
Does anybody like gays?
We don't like gays here. Oh, okay.
Hey, no, there's a thing he could do with Fableman and a slur that it would be very on the nose, the same way that Bagelman was.
Yep. We understand. I have never howled more in my entire life than when David Lynch appeared on screen. He entered, he served cunt and a PG-13 fuck, and then left.
Amen.
Can we give a shout out for
fuck out of my office?
I'm not sure if I've ever heard the phrase "served cunt" before.
Oh, I have.
I love it.
I want to send this to Renee because I pulled this for her.
It's given cunty Barbie.
I'm serving cunt. It's Friday once again.
It's fresh. This is the Mario to Babylon's Wario. Shout out to my friend Louise from Letterboxd.
True.
Yeah, you have to think about it. Like, okay. All right.
Does Babylon serve as much cunt? That's what I'm wondering.
I'll ask Louise next time I talk to her. There's no way Seth Rogen is fucking this kid's mom.
I cracked up reading this movie.
That's scary.
Sorry, bro. I fucked your mom. Oh, your dad's gonna be so mad at me. Oh, what should I do? There's an impression that I do like randomly sometimes when I'm just like high. It's just like Seth Rogen freaking out, and it's just that.
Yeah. What if that was an impression he did while high, and then when he's like stone cold sober, he sounds nothing like that. He has like very much. Actually, as a thespian.
Or he's like,
what? Seth Rogen.
Hello, my name is Sethry. Sethry.
All right, those are the Letterboxd one-liners for the Fablemans. Please follow Seth Rogen over there, Spielberg's monkey, aka John Ford's eye patch, aka Always Flacco. Movie Night Extravaganza is the name of the show. That's the account. I am Conan Neutron, Uncle Boris, the Oracle of Truth, all over that biz, doing the highbrow, midbrow, populist stuff. Follow me along with the Criterion Challenge if you feel so inclined. David Lynch's acting was Oscar worthy, and so are Christina's Letterboxd reviews when she deigns to do them. Maybe you can entice her back. Maybe if you give her enough follows, she'll be encouraged to do one. So maybe it's on you. Maybe if you can pull some Tinkerbell action, we can bring her back into the role.
That role,
the Waka Waka makes that, by the way.
That role, but he's Uncle Fozzie.
Replace him up with an actor and Seth Rogen.
Kid, why aren't you filming this? Waka Waka.
Or the interview with Fozzie and Franco.
He should edit out all the James Franco roles and just replace him with Fozzie Bear.
All right. J. Andrew World is watching all the weirdest stuff, so you don't have to, or maybe so you can. He was born to describe paintings to Ford, and Seth Rogen for the French Connection reboot as well. Apparently, I'm behind on my subtitles, and he is on there. Follow him and
the French Connection, waka waka.
And if you feel so inclined, see whatever he's up to. Seth Rogen for the French Connection reboot. Take us away.
All right. Did you see that train? I was chasing after it in the car. No, sorry. But you're watching us on YouTube right now, so please do those YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell if you haven't already, and the
hit
big
that
ass,
waka waka.
watch the video to the end, because you get to hear that great Conan Neutron song, and I hear he has a waka waka pedal.
How long did you have that in the back pocket? That wasn't that.
I just came up with it.
Okay, all right. That's not bad.
Yeah, no, it was pretty much on the fly.
You know what? I got enough other pedals. I mean, these aren't even the active ones. I got the pedal graveyard over here. It's like,
Conan said,
I never apologize.
Yeah.
"Oh my God, kid, I'm so sorry. Your parents are gonna get a divorce now. I'm freaking out."
But if you're watching us on Twitch, do the Twitch things, throw us a sub. And of course, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free. That helps us out. And you don't have to spend a penny.
Except for at Subway to get the sub to send to us.
But you can find us on various social media sites. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. So if you're on one of those three apps, find us. Talk to us, like us, comment. We respond. We have fun with people. Go ahead. I dare you. I double dog dare you.
I like that you made it weird and then you made it weirder. That was awesome. I was like, where's he going with this? I don't know.
I didn't know where I was going either.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is how I'm going to end it right here. But we have a Patreon as well. Hit us up on our Patreon. The great thing about the Patreon is you get access to our after parties forever. Like on Tuesday, we had an amazingly long and
it felt like forever. Yeah.
And Conan told the story of how we booked Sam Cedar, and also we went over. What else did we talk about?
We went over
Conan's awesome song.
Oh yeah, I flash composed a synth pop hit involving the from All Quiet on the Western Front.
And Lauren gave her Oscar picks.
Lauren, friend of the show, Lauren, gave her Oscar picks. That was great. It was an epic one. I feel like when we do them, they're even more jam packed full of content than they ever were when we deign to do them, which will not be tonight.
Yeah.
But that one's great. That one's like worth 3 if you ask me.
And if you want, that alone is worth for signing up. So find us over at Patreon and party on with those after parties.
Mm-hmm.
Party on with those after parties, indeed.
Yeah, I like that.
Party on, waka waka.
So Conan, you just had Platonic Reversal last night.
Did Russell Simmons of John Spencer Blues Explosion and Service. Fantastic show if you're into the music of those bands. Got to of the many great stories. Russ's great rock on tour, and he got to tell great
with him too, right?
We did, yeah. We did tour Service in the summer there, and they're just a cracking band. They're put out my favorite record of last year. He told a great story about the Blues Explosion pranking Weird Al with Yoko Ono. And it's kind of incredible, and there's gonna be a clip of that coming out. I was dying and laughing, as you can imagine. And Weird Al actually directed a Blues Explosion video way back when. Anyway, it's a whole thing. But yeah, if you like John Spencer Blues Explosion or the band Service, and if you don't know Service, you should. Great episode. I mean, like I'm biased. I'm personal friends with the dude, but he's played drums for Tom Waits. He's on that Fred Schneider record that Steve Albini produced. He plays drums on. Like he's done so much like awesome stuff, man. He's a great dude, great drummer too.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Kind of sad I missed it, but I guess
you can catch it at any time if you are a patron, which is $1 a month because it's not up for the general feed yet. That'll be up on Monday. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But you can hear it right now if you give $1 to patreon.com/Platonic Commercial.
There you go. That's
Bernie
a great way to
Sanders
do it.
model.
Wow. look
Is
at
that what you were getting? Well done. Well done.
Yes. Also, Conan makes music, and y'all should buy some of it. So, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com get you all of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends discography, and you can buy it all digitally, which is a good deal.
And that includes Cry Bullies, the new single featuring art by J. Andrew World, and that's going to be on a record that's coming out in the fall. And copy's still available. And we also got we got a bunch of merch stuff up there too. So
yeah, check that out. And Kristina has a Twitch channel that's going strong.
Yeah, sort of, but I just got to press on.
Stronger than ours.
Yeah,
I guess.
Which isn't saying much.
You got any plans this week or this weekend, I should say?
Well, I'm dog sitting this weekend, but I'm streaming after this, so I will be back on Wednesday, which means I have to miss Tuesday.
That that's a bummer. I mean, good for the dogs, but
yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, I
yeah.
need money, so
Good for you on that front, but bad for us. and our
Thank you,
fans.
Stevie. Thank you. I agree. That's I know you jumped in on that. Yeah. We're back to talking about me. Sorry. Oh, really? Oh, I couldn't possibly. Yeah.
But the big thing is this being Oscar month. Oscars always remind me of my friend Eric, who took his own life. So I just want to say out there, if you're hurting, if you're feeling lonely, people do care about you. You might not feel it right now, but people really do. So please call or text 988 if you really need help. That works anywhere in the country. If you want the regular number, 1-800-273-8255. If you're trans and having issues, there's a line specifically for you. 1-877-565-8860. If you are LGBTQ Luth, 1-866-488-7386. And finally, if you're a veteran, call 1-800-273-8255 and then press 1. Thank you.
All right, I think that was smoother than the last time we transitioned into that. But look at this fucking camera that
that's real deal.
I have a small collection of older cameras, and this actually looks a lot like the one that he got from the sorry I fucked your mom camera.
As it shall henceforth be known. Yeah.
But yeah. It's crazy you had to crank it though back in the day. You know what I mean? To actually get
Well, it worked out well in Nope, didn't it? Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, mostly. Until he became food.
Yeah. Other than that small technicality, it worked out great.
But, he should have texted 988.
Yeah. It's
there's an alien here.
See, that would have been a good transition.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's some callback. Let me tell you.
Real suicide hotline callers would know. Christina, let's hear some final thoughts.
Yeah. Dig us out of this hole, please. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So yeah, I love films that describe a person's life. Careful there, Forrest.
I wasn't gonna comment
look
on
at the
it.
bottom of this. It's incredibly hard to balance this.
Mm.
I thought the whole show was gonna get unplugged for a second.
You need a tripod or something.
But yeah, the acting's I love. Perfect cast. Worthy of certain Oscar nominations. Definitely recommend if you're really a big Spielberg fan. Obviously, if you want to know more about his life, this is the film. So yeah, when it comes to old timey cameras, I give it 8 out of 10 old timey cameras.
that don't balance very well.
8 out of 10, kid. Let's shoot this film.
So Forrest, you sleep on you put that underneath your pillow at night?
My directing career is about to start. Hold on.
Yeah. Crank it up. Crank it up.
But yeah. Conan, final thoughts.
Does anybody know if this kid ever made anything I've seen? Yeah, this is a very enjoyable film. I think it's certainly one of Spielberg's most personal plenty has been said and will be said about it. I don't think it's even close to the best picture of the year for my taste, but it's very good. I enjoy it.
Every Spielberg everywhere all at once.
I didn't quite connect with it the way some people did, but that isn't because it's a bad film. It's a really good one. It's part memoir. It's part an ode to the power of movies themselves, right? So it's hard. I'm never going to hate on that, especially when it's well done. It's certainly my favorite Spielberg in a very long time. I think that Judd Hirsch's Uncle Boris, that's a very valid Oscar-nominated performance. I think about that all the time. As an artist myself, I'm a sucker for that kind of thing, and I think that is one of the most well-executed soliloquies of its kind, and certainly for such a talented that guy actor as Judd Hirsch, which Taxi notwithstanding he is. It's great to see great artists doing great art, even when that's just like a small moment in someone else's story. And I think that this is a perfect kind of movie to represent that. David Lynch's John Ford is an all-timer too, and has to be like one of the great surprise endings of our day, as far as I'm concerned. So enjoyable film.
Unless you're Ron Howard and have heard the story.
Maybe for one, he got Lynch, huh? Okay. Like I guess it could have been Ron Howard, because what would be more disarming than hear Ron Howard say "fuck"?
Well, geez, golly willikers.
Oh God.
Geez,
Okay.
geez, golly willikers, get out of my office.
But yeah, David Lynch is perfect in that. Very enjoyable film. I think we may very well see him win Best Director for this. I think, like I said, I think it's a three-way race, and I think there's a very strong possibility we're going to see Spielberg win probably one last Best Director, because he's getting up there in years.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
I mean, it would be interesting if.
Although, what did his dad die at? Like super old, right? He lived like
103, and his mom.
We got another 30 years of Spielberg movies.
He could have another great arc and a terrible arc, and then
it's pretty crazy when the parent that died first was 97, and it's like, oh, what was the other parent? Oh, 10003. Like,
yeah.
Oh damn, so crazy. Young.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he had his whole life ahead of him.
I think it's going to be Spielberg or probably Spielberg or Todd Field for the Oscars. I would love to say it would be the Daniels, but I don't think it's going to be.
I feel like they're going to make them work for it. I mean, they might win. It would be interesting if Spielberg won Best Director and then Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture.
I honestly think that's probably what's going to happen unless they give it to Todd Field for director, which would be the biggest upset.
I don't know if.
I think that honestly just be to encourage him to make more movies.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Well, there was a lot of think pieces for
doesn't
a
need
while
the
before he made Tar, where that was all these think pieces that were like, I wish Todd Field was back. Movies would be so much different, and it's like probably not, but it's good that he came back.
He's a talented filmmaker. I mean, yeah, but I think it's he
finally came back from getting kidnapped by the cult that in Eyes Wide Shut that he's like your friend's gone missing, and it's like he hasn't made movies in 16 years.
Yeah, well, because after he got loose from them, it was the Nexium cult, and it was just we don't want to talk about it.
I think there was a real push for a while to have Fablemans for Best Picture, and that would have actually irritated me, but because I do really like it, but it's not for a year this good. It's not the best.
It's not Best Picture worthy.
Yeah, and exactly. My two favorite parts of it aren't the principal characters.
It might be Best Picture Maker worthy, but
yeah, and it's almost like it wouldn't make sense for it to be. Yeah, in my mind anyway. But I think it's enjoyable. I think it'll probably find a bigger audience when it finally hits streaming services, because who's not gonna want to check out a Spielberg biopic?
And there is and I've watched the first 20 minutes. I haven't watched the whole thing. There's a documentary that has his parents in it.
And I'd watch that too.
I mean, that's on wait, just to shout it out, it's on HBO Max. If you type in, I think it's just called Spielberg, kid. And his mom was it's like his mom's really last appearance, because they filmed it in 2017, and she died in October, or she died in April or something, and then the movie came out in October. So it's like it really was, I think, right before she passed that they filmed it. It's interesting.
But before he did that West Side Story, huh?
Well, it's where that clip is from, where she's talking about how she had a monkey, and the dad's like, I liked the monkey. That was their last appearance together in a.
Oh yeah, we can tell.
Yeah. Whatever he said, I like the monkey. I'm just like, Paul Dano nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's
yeah. I mean, well, it's the perfect level of like I'm enthusiastic about my ex-wife, and also just like kind of.
You can tell he's very enthusiastic. Yeah.
No, but like, but also at the same time, just kind of clueless. Like, I don't know. The monkey was fine.
Yeah, the monkey agnostic.
The monkey helped me build a computer, so there you go.
I thought that was a strong. Exactly.
But Andy, final thoughts.
I gotta say, like the year Coda win. I think that this would have probably beat it. But
he fucking hit Spielberg on the head like the jukebox.
Oh.
but it came out now, so it's definitely worth watching if you like Spielberg. It's got all the nostalgia.
Clearly, we do. We've covered a ton of his movies. Like, and we have like barely.
I was just thinking about how just like a month ago I did the Jurassic Park. The intro that like kind of went through all of his filmography, and I was like, oh, I'm just like building on that. I feel like
banger after banger.
That was like a couple weeks after, or maybe a week after we did Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a month of adventure movies, and I think we had 3 of his movies in there, right? Well, I guess one of them's technically Donner, but like, whatever. That's a lot. He's a great filmmaker. Anyway, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah,
Spielberg.
And I mean, all of his movies are tinged with nostalgia, so this is like pure uncut nostalgia.
The other movies are like the when they put like baby laxative and cocaine.
they cut it.
This is like holy shit! I got that pure uncut fucking nostalgia from Spielberg.
Yeah,
I'm
rubbing this nostalgia on my gums. I'm like cocaine there.
You dip your finger in. This is good, Fableman. Yeah. More like this. More like this.
I'll take the whole package. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is truly what he meant by art is a drug.
I think I'm cutting that into a short.
That's the one, huh? Okay.
Yes.
We only get a minute. What other things have we talked about that only last a minute?
Get wrapped up quickly. See.
But anyways, no, this is definitely like I don't see it as the best thing that came out this year, but it definitely did deserve that a Judd Hirsch. As much as I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, it might be a slightly better than Key, and I hate that because I love Key.
I mean,
hot take from
it's a great performance. Yeah,
I liked when Judd Hirsch came out and said, "And you will atone."
I as well have.
Like he ripped his shirt. He's just like, we're sleeping on the floor. Rip your clothes and sleep on the floor.
Do you think this is something I just thought of? And I know we do a lot. We do a lot of humor on this show. It's a funny show, but do you think that him being as Jewish as he is in this role is going to have some people not vote for him
in Hollywood?
Yeah, but not everybody is going to be a producer or director. Like, there's a bunch of like, I'm being serious.
What time to need Harvey Weinstein? Am I right?
I mean,
I don't know. I'm. It's an honest question. I haven't thought about that until.
I mean, like as far as I know, there really
he was stopped by Zagoyes.
Like, is Ben Shapiro part of the voting?
I don't. Sorry, I asked.
I don't know. I mean, because you could have some. I feel like Hollywood gets stereotyped as like the most Jewish industry or whatever, but at the same time, you could have some.
Yeah, maybe it helps. I don't know.
You could have some spiteful goy, like the.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just not familiar with people like just being openly anti-Semitic like that, and
it's not Spielberg.
I'm not saying it's
not Spielberg's high
possible.
school being openly anti-Semitic like that,
Yeah.
where they're all like, I would have voted for him, but I don't like Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Put it right out there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was just a thought I had. I mean, I still think I think it's Keys to lose at this point, but I think they're all great performances. I think that's something where the Oscars pretty much got it right as far as that. As far as I'm concerned,
I like that. I feel like the Oscars really like a good story, like a good going into it story, right? So like, Judd Hirsch not being nominated since he was nominated in 1981. I feel like it's a good story. But then Key kind of finally coming back into filmmaking is also a good story. I mean, he could also just dedicate that award to fucking Spielberg, and then which he will, 100% will, because he did with the Golden Globe. He like shouted him out. He's like Spielberg, and
and Judge Hirsch was totally snubbed for Independence Day. But
All right.
No,
Well,
it's a good
I
role.
guess,
Jeff Goldblum's dad. Yes.
I guess we're ending.
Who great is Jeff Goldblum's dad in that film with the aliens?
Yes.
I guess we're ending on that. Yeah, we'll be back on. We'll be back on Tuesday to talk about Jordan Peterson's love of pussy, I guess, or whatever, with the Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness with Zach Marsh of Film Speak. Yeah, it should be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna say sayonara.